A lot of these folks don't have a ton of marketing budget. They don't have full marketing staffs where, Home Depot might have 30 people and all they do is social media. And what we do is we come up with those resources that makes them look like they're a big dog.
For the member listening, what is included in that $0 fee to work with Independent We Stand?
A full suite of marketing materials, and that includes everything from point of sale materials to social media graphics.
One of the cliches that I think about when I ponder on the independent retail channel is sort of one of the cliche, the saying as it goes, strength in numbers, and certainly holds true for Nationwide Marketing Group with our 5,300 members, 14,000 storefronts that we represent, and it also holds true with vendor partners and industry partners that we get together with and try to do right by this independent retail channel. And one of the names that has certainly come to be known to me in this short, in my early time here at Nationwide is Independent We Stand and Bill Brunelle. And that's the voice that you just heard, of Bill. We had the opportunity while we were in Houston for PrimeTime to sit down and chat about all the things that they have going on. By the time you're listening to this, the America's Main Streets contest will be in full fling and running, and a great program that recognizes some of the main streets around America, around the country that support local businesses, and a contest that was started by Independent We Stand just a handful of years ago, in its 5th year this year. But just a cool opportunity to chat with Bill about everything they've got going on, the partnership between Independent We Stand and Nationwide Marketing Group, and things that our members can take advantage of, some resources and tools that IWS has and offers through Nationwide, and vice versa. So just a cool conversation, and appreciate Bill taking the time to join us. So let's go ahead and dive into our podcast with Bill Brunelle of Independent We Stand. All right, we're back on the Independent Thinking podcast, again, live from PrimeTime, Nationwide PrimeTime here in Houston. And right now, excited to get the chance to talk with a guy, honestly, I've heard a lot about you and seen a lot about you coming to these shows, and even in between the shows, content you guys produce. Your name's everywhere, Mr. Bill Brunelle of Independent We Stand, co-founder and executive director of Independent We Stand. Appreciate you taking time, inviting me into your booth. Sitting here, I feel like I'm working with Independent We Stand right now.
Hey, we might put you to work. We've been pretty busy. Well, I really appreciate the chance to talk with you and your listeners. We're always excited to come to the Nationwide Marketing Group PrimeTime events because it gives us a chance to meet these small business owners that are living the American dreams. And when they hear about the partnership between Nationwide Marketing Group and Independent We Stand and all the tools and resources and materials that are available, and then they hear it's free, they're just blown away. So we've made lots of fans while we've been here.
That's awesome. And for me, like I said, I've been familiar with your name just walking by it at PrimeTimes, but kind of a running theme now, running joke almost of this PrimeTime is that for as many as I've been to, which I think is 8 at this point, this is my first as a member of the Nationwide family, so everyone's telling me I got to reset the clock, and that nothing is counted before this. So this is PrimeTime number 1. So tell me the pitch as a new person, a new part of the Nationwide family about Independent We Stand.
Sure. So Independent We Stand is really, it started out as a cause marketing campaign 10 years ago for a company called Steel, the chainsaw company. And essentially they were looking for some way to help their independent dealers stand out from the big box stores. And a lot of people don't realize it, but you can't buy Steel equipment at Home Depot or Lowe's. And with 9,000 independent home stores, garden centers, outdoor power equipment shops, they became number 1 in their category, which, that's not the way it's supposed to happen. A lot of manufacturers think there's gold at the end of the rainbow when they work with these big box stores. And there's more and more research that shows that can actually kill a brand, because you might strike a deal with Home Depot for the first year and make a ton of money, but the next year Home Depot is going to come and say, what, we're not crazy about your margin, you need to slim it down. And then they do it again in the 3rd year and in the 4th year. And there's been several companies that have essentially been put out of business. And sometimes they'll close factories and jobs will go overseas, and Steel didn't want anything to do with it. Steel is all about quality, and when you start squeezing a company on profits, you start looking at ways to cut costs, and Steel wouldn't have anything to do with it. So they decided, you know what, let's work with these mom and pop stores and see what they can do, and they became number one, and that kind of set the, like I mentioned earlier, the manufacturing world on fire, but it also caught the attention of Wall Street and other manufacturers, and has really just taken off from there. Steel is such a first-class company that when we first launched in September of 2010, we had a bunch of other independent businesses contact us for our resources and materials, and Steel said, you know what, as long as they qualify, and when you apply for a membership on Independent We Stand, you have 5 questions to answer, so we can determine whether you are indeed locally owned. Let's let them join. Let's let them, access the materials. Let's help them build their local brands, and it has just taken off from there. I mean, I've barbershop signing up, bookstores, record stores, every kind of business you can think of. A lot of these folks, and even Nationwide Marketing Group members, don't have a ton of marketing budget. They don't have full marketing staffs where, Home Depot might have 30 people and all they do is social media.
Yep.
And small business owner, they turn on the lights, they stock the goods, they hire, they fire, they balance the books, and then some marketing expert says, oh, by the way, you got to tweet today. It's time to tweet. And what we do is we come up with those resources that makes them look like they're a big dog, like they are worth the business. And a lot of the graphics and stuff that we share directly talk about the economic impact
awesome.
Of small business owners.
That's awesome. And to kind of go back to what you were saying about the what a big box can kind of do to those brands, it takes what is the heart, I think, to me personally, the heart of what an independent business is, and that's, the trust and loyalty and the handshake, and it just completely undermines it. That's kind of crazy to hear, it's just a completely different business model.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the statistics that we love to promote is the fact that small businesses give twice as much money per employee to local charities than the big businesses do. So, and I'm not slamming the big boxes. Target does a lot in their communities and some others. But there's a big disconnect between that Target manager that just came to town to take over that Target store and the guy that's been on the corner of Main Street and Elm Street now for 50 years. And maybe he's the grandson of the original founder, and his boys play on your boys' baseball team. And by the way, when they needed jerseys for that Little League team, you stepped up.
Yep.
Those are the kind of emotional connections that you have to make with consumers, and bookstores are a great example. You know what Amazon did to the book selling world, right?
Absolutely.
Well, bookstores are actually one of the categories independent bookstores doing extremely well right now because they deliver an over-the-top experience. 500 new bookstores in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Really, hardware stores, same thing. 33,000 independent hardware stores, Ace Hardware, Do It Best Hardware. They sell more than Home Depot and Lowe's combined, but often they're kind of tucked away, and they don't have that big huge box and that strip mall that looks like every strip mall you've ever seen.
But you even think about it. This is just a personal anecdote. Is that my father-in-law is someone that absolutely loathes going into a Home Depot or Lowe's. If he finds an Ace Hardware, he might not even need anything. He'll just pull over to the side of the road because he likes going in, chatting about the home projects that he's working on with the guys that are in that store, because they know what they're talking about. They're very personable. They're in the community, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, it is, and it's. And I will tell you, the big box stores struggle with good customer service. Everybody knows the labor market is tightened up. A lot of times at those places, you'll get the contractor during the day that works at night, so he's already tired and grumpy. Yep. Long before I started with Independent We Stand, I was actually shopping at my local. And I hate to keep slamming the big boxes because that's not what we're about. But I was at Home Depot. I had an emergency toilet repair. Water everywhere, got the system water stopped in the house, but then I had to make a repair and had to make it quick. I made 4 trips to Home Depot to get the right stuff before I got and the 4th trip I did not get the right stuff because I couldn't find help to tell me what thingamajig I needed to fix that leak. Hardware store a mile up from my house I had never stopped by. I stopped by, the owner was there,
and they have everything.
He had what I needed, and that toilet was fixed in 3 or 4 seconds, and I've been going ever since. Taylor's Do It Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia. I think the key for retailers, especially competing with the big box stores, is delivering over-the-top customer service and an experience they won't find at Home Depot or Lowe's.
No, that's awesome. And so, talk about the relationship with Nationwide, how it came together, and but we'll get to where it's blossomed to today because it's quite awesome. But what are sort of the beginning moments of this relationship?
Well, actually, about probably 2 years into it, Nationwide West reached out to me, and they loved what we were doing, so we exchanged social media graphics, and I think we actually did some content to promote the whole business model because it's obviously we think alike. We drink the same Kool-Aid, and so we've basically kept in touch, and a few years ago I reached out to Tom Hickman and
the guy who certainly has like a jug of that Kool-Aid in his corner office.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. And I've got a Tom story here in a second about a contest that we have going on. But it made sense. Everything felt right. And I think that what we really can bring to the table is giving members the ability to build their local brands, because a mentor of mine once told me, if you're going to run with the big dogs, you need to get off the porch. And that's actually the clean version of what he taught me. But the point there being is, if you're going to compete with the big box stores and the national chains, you need to act and look like a big box store. And as members will find with all the resources for Independent We Stand, they are top-notch graphics. For example, Facebook changed their algorithm 2-3 years ago. Actually, they changed it every 2 or 3 months. But they were getting a lot of complaints that page content was appearing higher than friends and family, so they switched everything around. So if you're a small business owner, you've got to have really good, engaging content, and it's got to be shared by your fans, so it appears higher in the feed. Well, I've got a staff of designers that just blow me away with their stuff. Probably to date, 150, 200 different Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram optimized graphics, everything. Right now we're in the middle of our Valentine's push, so buy local for Valentine's Day. Got Mother's Day coming up. We actually have St. Patrick's Day, July 4th, every major retail holiday, including Halloween and Christmas.
It's an opportunity to get the name out there.
And it's also important for members that are doing social, not just to sell. So this is an opportunity to actually put out a feel-good graphic that'll get shared and so forth and so on. So we are so excited about now that this former relationship with Nationwide Marketing Group, and Tom was instrumental in that. Quick story about Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. We always got time for Tom. Time for Tom stories.
we were on Monday, February 24th. We start our 5th annual America's Main Street contest, and that is a contest where we really want to bring awareness to the 12 to 1,300 Main Street groups across the U.S. That are doing wonderful work to help their main streets or Elm Avenues or Pacific Avenues, whatever it is, really succeed. And a big part of that success are small, locally owned businesses that help them thrive. And we started in 2016, a small town in Washington, state of Washington, 10 miles from the border one, and that's Linden, Washington. And in Linden, Washington, they grow 85% of the red raspberries in the country. So if you get red raspberries, chances are they came from Linden.
That's crazy.
The following year, a town called DeLand, Florida, which is halfway between Orlando and Daytona.
Okay.
They won. It's a $25,000 cash prize, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And guess what hometown Tom Hickman is from? DeLand, Florida. So I know he drinks the Kool-Aid. And this is before we had a formal relationship. So I did nothing to help DeLand win. They won all on their own.
It was organic. They did it themselves. They worked it out, and it all, it was meant to be.
It was.
Maybe, perhaps.
You know what? I think it is. And I'm still very close with the whole organization. They used the $25,000 to redo some lighting and signage on their main street. And so, we're real excited about it. Last year, a member in Rutland, Vermont, Rutland Appliances, they helped downtown Rutland reach the top 10. They came really close to winning the whole thing. But and it doesn't have to be a Main Street organization. It can be a small business organization. It can be a buy local organization. There's about 160 of them nationwide, and $25,000 is a nice little marketing campaign.
Yeah, that's not a tiny chunk of change for these guys.
Not at all.
Awesome program, and something that by the time this runs, we may have already helped push and promote that. I know we have plans to, but on the kind of flip side of that, we're talking about the $25,000 there. The other price point that I want to touch on is something that you've been hitting on this week during your sessions, and that's $0.
Yes, yes.
So you got somewhere you found a $0 bill.
Yep.
So,
Thanks.
And you love to talk about it.
Again, thanks to the generosity of our partnership with Nationwide Marketing Group. And I got to tell you, in these presentations I do, I have to emphasize that it's free because they don't believe it's free. So I actually have a slide that comes flying in with a Nationwide Marketing Group logo with a $0 bill, and the cash register ring goes off, and I'm like, folks, this is absolutely no cost. 3 easy payments of $0.
$0 plus 0 shipping and handling.
Exactly.
So what,
0 handling fee.
So what does that actually entail for the member listening? What is included in that $0 fee to work with Independent We
Sure.
Stand?
A full suite of marketing materials available both on our website as well as MemberNet, and that includes everything from point-of-sale materials to social media graphics. Some are retail, holiday specific, like I mentioned with Valentine's Day. Back to school seems to be real popular with the appliance guys.
Yep.
And every major holiday. Plus, we have generic stuff like Think Outside the Big Box. That, for some reason, is like one of the most popular we have. And it's all free of charge, available both on our website again and MemberNet. And we will even, if somebody wants to customize something, like the Think Outside the Big Box graphic seems to be the most popular with you guys, or with your members, excuse me. And I will give you the vector-based artwork that you can then add a logo and get printed locally on a T-shirt. All I ask is you try and do it locally. Okay,
so
if you,
hey, that's fair.
That's
a fair ask.
That's actually a part of my presentation. Of I'm asking you that you're locally owned. Now you're going to preach to other people they should buy local. You need to think about sourcing.
You may or may not be familiar with the name, but an earlier episode of this podcast, we went to Mrs. G's in Lawrence Township.
Are you kidding? She's one of my favorite people in the entire world. Debbie comes by here all the time.
Debbie is, if you want to talk about someone that practices what she preaches, as far as being locally owned and leaning in on that local business, she is an absolute rock star in that space. And
she actually joined Independent We Stand in the fall of 2010.
That's right.
We've been up to her store several times. You might even see her come up on the videos we're showing.
We actually, during that podcast, she, you guys came up. She had some piece of paper. It might have been something that you guys did together. Is in her staff office, and she's proud of it.
We did that. That's right. I remember doing that now.
So just seeing that type of commitment from some of these guys, from some of our members, as to how they lean in on being local and how important it is to them. It's inspiring.
Yeah, I absolutely love coming to these things because I get to interact with folks like Debbie, and I still get chills just thinking about her story and how she's run that business or any other small business. One of the things that we preach as part of our resource training is celebrate your Main Street story. Mm-hmm. Every business has a Main Street story. Maybe you've been around for many generations like Mrs. G's, or maybe you're a corporate guy that you just got sick of the corporate life and you decide, I'm opening up a furniture store. That's your Main Street story. You need to figure out what that is and then go tell it. Social media, newspapers, radio, whatever. Tell your Main Street story. That'll really resonate.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you, I mentioned it kind of at the top that I've seen your name a lot of places. You're a content machine, sir, Mr. Brunelle.
I was kind of hoping it wasn't the FBI wall, Top 10.
No. But I mean, you are a regular, content producer and out there preaching, about the what you guys are doing, the mission of IWS, and kind of everything that you're about, and sharing advice too. A lot of great advice articles. So, it's clear that this is important to you. So what is that easy for you to does content roll off the tongue for you, or how important is that as far as everything else that you're doing?
I have to give credit to my staff. I have some incredible designers and writers and folks that I work with, and now that we've been doing it for 10 years, they really know small businesses. Mm-hmm. They are super excited to work with the small businesses because many of them as artists, graphic artists, have worked with the bigger businesses before. Yeah. And I actually allow a lot of creative freedom. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've got really kind of Americana thing going there with broken type and brick and mortar and all that stuff. And that's because I don't overthink the creative. And I know that on Facebook it's got to be cool and creative. So I'd love to take credit for all of that, but no, it's the talented staff I get to work with.
That's awesome. So When you think about the work you're doing, it's kind of the constantly beating that drum and getting independent businesses involved. But what's the next step? As you're thinking ahead, what's the next innovation or next step for an organization like IWS, and kind of where you're heading and what you're doing?
Well, we're just getting started. I know I told you we've been around for 10 years, but this is a movement that is still growing exponentially. And I think when I started, for example, there were maybe 20 buy local groups around the nation. There are now 160 plus.
Wow.
And you saw American Express jumped on board.
Yep.
And research actually that American Express did just a couple of years ago showed that almost 9 out of 10 consumers understand how important it is to smart independent businesses. But the challenge there is they need to know you're independent. So I really feel like we still have lots of work to do. And the more we can get out there and attend events like this, we have more tools that we can give to independent business owners. I really think that's the new thing. It's old is new, we're not done. It's only been 10 years, and there's still a lot of people that still go to the big box stores. And we understand that's not, we're not going to change. But if we can get consumers to shift maybe 10 or 20% of what they buy and make them think about that furniture store that's been on the corner now for 50 years and the grandson's taken over, that's a connection that can be a long-term connection. So
absolutely,
I got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do.
Me and you both, my friend.
Yep.
No, but it's been awesome to sit and chat with you here, and again, I appreciate you taking some time to invite me into the booth, and great learning a little bit about the organization, and the partnership is phenomenal. So I look forward to continuing, on the communication side of things, continuing to support what you guys are doing, and hope to help you in that fight.
Absolutely, and we couldn't be more grateful for this partnership with Nationwide Marketing Group. But I think more important is I get to hang out with your members, because
they are a blast.
The coolest people on the planet, living the American dream. I'm very jealous, and anything we can do to help them sell more product and build brand loyalty, we're going to do. So thank you for your support.
Awesome, you got it, and thank you. All right, and appreciate Bill again taking the time to sit down with the Independent Thinking podcast at PrimeTime, and had to bat some do some boxing out down there in Houston as people wanted to chat with them and hear everything that they had to offer. So cool to sit down in their booth and get to know the guy a little bit more, and look forward to seeing where things go. So as always, thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will catch you next time.